Hello, my name is Jose Martinez and I'm affected with the Mandela effect. This video is very political and I hope I don't get a strike, but this is what I see, this is what evidence I found for you guys to make your own decisions and don't believe me. Here's some pictures I found on the internet. Please look at them, see what you think, and please wake up before it's too late. Here are proof that these people are committing crimes against humanity. Wearing a mask. Check it out. It's a mask. This is Biden. Look at the outline. This is CGI. Look at the truck behind the window. Look at the microphone. Look at his head. It's missing. Half of it is missing and his hand is going through the microphone. It's all CGI. Also look at the suit. It's all real straight lines. CGI. Missing his head. Look at that lady back there. That's not normal. Here's another mask. Look at two different colors. Here's Joe Biden, 2020. The ears don't match. The eyes don't match. Nothing matches. I wonder why. Maybe he needs to update his mask. Here's the Capitol with all fenced up. I wonder why. Maybe they're afraid of something. Here's a paper that says that slavery is legal. You get a worthless piece of paper and it's controlling your life right now.
You thought Joe Biden was actually president? What has he done? What has he done that's helped anybody? Anybody. No matter what you believe, what has he done?
I found this video. I believe he's an ex-Coast Guard or National Guard. His name is Derek Johnson. And he's saying that Joe Biden is not president. And Donald Trump, before he left office as president, he signed an executive order, 3 orders to activate the army. So the army has control of this country. He just shows proof about it, and I was intrigued of what he was saying. I believe his videos are going viral because that's important news. It just shows that the reason why the economy is bad and why Joe Biden is trying to destroy this country from within is because it's all fake. What Donald Trump was saying, there's a storm coming, because they had the monkey juice already planned to go against the world to destroy the planet. All governments are making laws to protect themselves, not the people. They're protecting themselves, and that's against the Constitution. We, the people, we need to take care of ourselves, prepare, because according to Derek Johnson, this government is against us.
Because if I didn't know what I know, and if I just was someone who thought Joe Biden was actually president, what has he done?
Military force, but become a part of this when activated for federal missions. You're not even supposed to be talking, number one, because we're in a wartime situation, because President Trump extended his powers as president under these titles, Title 10, also the Stafford Act, the Presidential Emergencies Act, also 47 U.S. Code 606.
Laws. I didn't write these orders. I didn't write these regulations. President Trump issued 3 national emergencies. 3 national emergencies that must be addressed by Congress. That is a law. That's a federal law. They did not address those. Therefore, he had to do what? He had to activate The military, all 50 states at one time, never been done before in United States history. He activated all 50 states at one time. That's what you saw, 35,000 plus National Guard members go to the District of Columbia, which in military law and also in U.S. law is a foreign territory. It's not a city, not a state. That is U.S. law. That's federal law. That's military law. It's so simple, it's stupid. That's what you saw, 35,000 plus National Guard members go to the District of Columbia, which in military law and also in U.S. law is a foreign territory. That is U.S. law.
We the people.
Prepper, he made a video about how the government is tricking us. He's an Army retired veteran.
We have the power, because all of these external things that are happening around the world, they will affect us in one way or another. Those things that have happened in the past where we have been betrayed as not only the American people, but from history, that we learn those things that have happened in the past where we have been betrayed as not only the American people, but as human beings that live on this wonderful earth. Things that have happened in the past, and I'm going to go over only 5. I could probably find dozens of things that have happened in the past that first came out as dead lies, just dead lies from the government. And now 40, 50, 60, 70 years later, we find out that, wow, those weren't lies. Those things really did happen, and they covered it up because they did not want to imply themselves in the things that they were doing against their own people. All right, so I'm going to cover a few things. Some of you may know of these things that have happened in the past, but some of you may not know it at all. And some of you, even after I read some of the stuff that I'm going to read to you, you won't even believe it. So go do your own research. It's all public knowledge. It's all out there for you to go and find out and try to prove it wrong, or try to see that, hey, this really did happen and we were coerced into this or coerced into that. And stay for the very last thing, because the very last thing is something that for sure, I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, for sure, you will not hear on the mainstream media. Not one bit. So let's start out with Operation Northwoods. For those of you that don't know what Operation Northwoods is, it's an operation that was conjured by the Big C. So I'm going to refer to this organization right here as the Big C from now on, okay? It was conjured by the Big C back during the crisis that we were having with Cuba. Remember the Cuba missile crisis, whatever that thing was, where Russia was trying to put missiles on Cuba and stuff like that? And it was an operation that was conjured by the Big C, and proposed to the president at that time, President Kennedy, and it was shortly after he came into office, right? After he became president. So take a look at this. This right here is the official document that was unclassified, but there's more than that, and you can actually find this document on a PDF on the internet, right? It's public knowledge. It's out there for you to see, and it is unclassified, so you can go look for it for yourself. But I wanted to go ahead and just cover a little bit of this. See, there's not that much to read, just a couple little paragraphs to read, and then you can come and revisit this and look for yourself. And I'm going to leave the link to all of these on a pinned comment. It starts off by saying top military leaders of America and the Big C drafted plans to stage and carry out acts of T against the citizens of the United States of America. All right, go ahead and read that over for yourself. Carry out acts of T against the citizens of the United States of America. By taking out innocent people and blaming Cuba, they hoped that the world would support a retaliatory strike, and therefore Operation Northwoods was born. Again, this is public knowledge. It's out there for you to look it up. In the face of such destructive attacks, apparently by a new and unstable communist regime, the U.S. would appear as the injured party. The world would see a U.S. invasion of Cuba as a justified retaliatory strike against a T state. That was Operation Northwoods, ladies and gentlemen. And it was a plan conjured by the Big C to take out American citizens, innocent American citizens, in hopes that the rest of the American populace would back up their plan to invade a sovereign nation, be it that they were a communist nation or whatever, but to invade a sovereign nation. The same thing that's happening now, but with 2 other countries. You all remember that little war, which really wasn't a war. It was a police action, right? That sent 58,000 plus American service members to their demise. And then I would have to say hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million or more, other service members that came home to get spat on, came home without limbs, came home without their minds. Remember that? Well, what got us into that debacle? Well, it's called the Gulf of Tonkin. It was an attack on an American ship or boat that never happened. And being told this to the Congress, they then authorized that the president send people to Vietnam to their demise. It was a lie. It never happened. And it came out years and years later, after all of the people that were responsible for sending our young men and women over to Vietnam, they were already gone. So who's going to pay the price? The reason I'm saying this, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I'm showing you this is because I still have it in my mind about that person that said, "Are you serious? You think this was all planned?" That was all planned. They knew what would happen if they told Congress that an American vessel was attacked by North Vietnamese. They knew what would happen, and they lied about it. And therefore, Congress said, yes, go ahead and send our kids over there to die. On a lie, ladies and gentlemen. What, do you think this was planned? Of course not. It was just coincidence. Somebody just messed up. Somebody meant to say something and it came out a different way. It just got lost in communication, so we lost 58,000 Americans. Now, this goes through the history of what led up to the Vietnam War and all that, but I want to go ahead and get to right before it. So in November 1963, President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. And this is something that we all know. But what happened about 6 months later? In 1964, after Johnson was in office, the USS Maddox was allegedly attacked by North Vietnamese patrol torpedo boats in the Gulf of Tonkin. The attack was later disputed, leading President Johnson to call for airstrikes on North Vietnamese patrol boats and bases. 2 U.S. aircrafts are shot down, and 1 U.S. pilot, Everett Alvarez Jr., becomes the first U.S. airman to be taken prisoner by North Vietnam. In August of 1964, that same date, the attacks in the Gulf of Tonkin spur Congress to pass the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, which authorizes the president to take all necessary measures, including the use of armed force against any aggressor in the conflict. Now, this is a different article, but I'm going to go ahead and start from here. In 2005, an undated NSA publication was declassified, revealing that there was no attack on the Maddox. Since the NSA's disclosure, many have accused the U.S. government of intentionally faking the incident to increase support for the U.S. war in Vietnam and to justify further military action in the region. And I've looked into this in depth, and the commander of the USS Maddox, he was actually telling them, saying, "We have not been attacked." So was it planned? August 10th, the U.S. Congress passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, a bill that authorized the president to do whatever was necessary to assist any member or protocol state of the Southeast Asia Collective Defense Treaty. This technique was also seen in the early 2000s when the government administration of President Bush of the U.S. and Prime Minister Tony Blair of the UK asserted that Iraq government was actively constructing and stockpiling weapons of, say it ladies and gentlemen, I don't have to. How many times have we heard that word? Prompting the war in Iraq. The U.S.-led inspections found that Iraq had in fact not been stockpiling or producing WMDs. I guarantee you that there's at least one person who watches this video that knows somebody or is family of someone who lost their life in Iraq, pursuing a ghost, pursuing something that never existed. Was that planned? Was that insertion into Iraq? Was that planned? I'm sure it wasn't. It was just by happenstance. It wasn't planned. Ladies and gentlemen, the only way that we can maintain freedom, any semblance of freedom whatsoever, is if we become informed and if we criticize what it is that our government is doing now so that we can stop some crazy thing from happening that will cost the lives of our children, of our brothers, our sisters, our fathers, our mothers. It's the only way that we can stop it. We have the power. But without being informed, without being critical of those things that governments do on our behalf, we will never be able to stop it, and things like this will continue over and over and over again. Have you heard of this one, Operation Mockingbird? Operation Mockingbird was a 1950s program in which
The Big C
recruited and propped up various media organizations to influence public opinion. In April of 1976, the Church Committee, a U.S. Senate task force, conducted an investigation into the CIA's influence over both foreign and national news organizations and stated that the CIA maintained a huge global network that provided intel for the organization and at times attempted to influence opinion through the use of covert propaganda. The damning report also stated that these same individuals gave direct access to a large number of newspapers and periodicals, scores of press services and news agencies, radio and television stations, commercial book publishers, and other foreign media outlets, and claimed that approximately 50 of the CIA's assets were individual American journalists or employees of the media organization. God forbid if I say, hey, this guy over here on this station, this guy used to work for the CIA, and I know I messed up. I'm supposed to be calling it the big C, but right now, many of us can say, hey, this person over here used to work for, and it's being said that he still does, and that he is an asset that was placed on that position as an anchor or as a personality on that news show. But God forbid if I say that, because I'd be called crazy. I saved this one for last because it's the one that's the most recent in our history, and it actually occurred on this same month about 21 years ago. And there was actually an investigation done on this by Alaska University of Fairbanks, and I believe it was a 2-year investigation. A structural re-evaluation of the collapse of World Trade Center 7. I'm just going to read the summary, okay? I'm just going to read the bottom of this. I will leave this on a link so you can revisit it. Because the people that did this investigation for, I think it lasted at least 2 years. They were not in the culinary department. No, they were in the structural engineering department. These are people that know what to look for, that know what they're doing. This is what they do in life. And here in the bottom, they finish this off by saying, the principal conclusion of our study is that fire did not cause the collapse of WT7 on that date, contrary to the conclusion of NIST and private engineering firms that studied the collapse. The secondary conclusion of our study is that the collapse of WT7 was a global failure involving the near simultaneous failure of every column in the building. And what they mean by that it was a global failure is that it's never happened in the history of mankind where a structural building that was made out of steel, where the bones inside of it were made out of steel, collapsed on itself. There have been instances of buildings that were pretty much same construction as this one right here that completely burned down to its skeleton, where everything that was left was just the beams, but it never imploded on itself in the manner and fashion in which this one right here did. So go take a look at that if you're interested. But I think I've made my point. And I know that a lot of you are going to think I'm crazy. But the fact of the matter is this. Our government is not there for us, for we the people. So what does it matter what took down Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2? What does matter is, are you going to be prepared for the repercussions of what that means? What are the repercussions of Europe not being able to get any natural gas? Probably forever from Russia. What are those repercussions? What does that mean to you if you live in Germany, who used to get about 50% of your natural gas from Russia? What does that mean to you if you live in Europe and other countries that used to get a high percentage? I believe Italy used to get like 43% or 46%. What does it matter to you? How are you going to prepare for that fact? What does it matter to people here in the United States that are now having to pay higher prices because whatever we get out of the ground as far as natural gas, we are exporting as much as we possibly can, dwindling our supplies and making the prices for everyone go up? What does that mean to you? How are you going to prepare for that? Because you're never going to be told the truth. Maybe 50 years from now, some crazy old guy like me will be sitting on a chair telling you, hey, look at this, the Nord Stream 1 and the Nord Stream 2, this is what really happened. Because, ladies and gentlemen, everything that government does is planned. Believe it. Everything they do is planned. They think 4, 5, 6 steps ahead. They make themselves look like idiots. But trust me, it is planned what they do. But does it really matter to you? That's my question.